The response was insane. Insane. I just remember looking at our website and it was just like sale, 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 sale. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to fulfill this?
Welcome to Going Nowhere, the podcast about building a CPG business, raising 2 babies, and somehow surviving the madness in between.
So let's get right into it. Now, we kindly got a little bit of your background.
Yes.
And potentially a little bit more insights on you, the person, the woman behind the bakes.
Yes.
So let's dive in now how Nowhere got started, because this is an interesting story. To me, it's the best tasting product. Yes, to you, it's the cleanest product. And this is kind of the start of it. The reason we call it Nowhere is because we tried to marry 2 worlds that didn't exist. So you have the idea that we want to make a really clean product, a product without corn syrup, a product without refined sugar, a product free from most allergens. And we need it to taste delicious. Hence my part. It needed to taste like a dessert should. Nostalgic, delicious, comfort, indulgent. That's what we want in a dessert. That's why people make excuses when they eat a bowl of ice cream, because they only do it so often because they want that taste. So how can we marry these 2 worlds that didn't exist? And we believed after a year's worth of testing, when we landed on a product that we really truly loved, it was easy to call it Nowhere because it didn't exist. That to me still doesn't exist because no one does what we do. You've onboarded into this kitchen. You are overwhelmed, a little intimidated. What's your plan?
My plan is no plan.
Mm-hmm.
I had zero plan. I was really just going with the flow of it all. And the timing of it, I think, was serendipitous because even though it was probably the worst time of our generation's history, being the pandemic, it was this perfect storm of everyone being at home on their phones, nothing to do. People were getting this government money. And so I feel like people had a little bit more spending power for online businesses. We were considered what was that word? Like a essential business. We were still operating. And when I say we, I mean me, because it was just me. I started out with just a few hours in the morning while they were, doing their thing with their food delivery. And then the demand grew. Someone DM'd me asking if I could deliver a box to them in Marina Del Rey. And I said, sure, no worries. Next thing, someone said, hey, can you ship to me in Kentucky? And I'm like, yeah, no worries. Figure that out. And by trial and error, we figured out that USPS was not the option. There was a lot of trial and error with figuring out the shipping part of things.
Well, we watched YouTubes on how to ship pies, and we basically wrapped pies in our apartment and just threw around the boxes and see if it can make it. That's how we learned.
Yes. There was no business plan. Let's just say that. So it started out with a few hours in the morning. That then led to a full day. And it's funny because I look back at this time and I think no one told me to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I just decided to do that because somehow I needed to get the most out of that day, and I was allowed 1 day a week. And so the earliest that I could arrive into that kitchen space was 4 a.m. That meant getting up at 2 a.m., getting ready, packing the car with all the ingredients, all the packaging, everything that I needed. Mind you, I was buying everything from Trader Joe's. It was the pandemic, so if you remember, there were lines out the grocery store just to get in. So you have to wait outside for like an hour before you can even get your groceries. I'd pack the car. I would drive down to Orange County. It was about an hour drive on the freeway. Listen to how I built this podcast. Get myself in that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. The most hardcore EDM trance music full blast, because at this point, 4 a.m., I'm the only one in the kitchen, which I loved. Make the cookies. Some of the staff would come in and do their thing from the other company for a little bit. And then by 4 p.m., I am like racing out the door because I have to get to USPS and then I've got to go do hand deliveries in LA. And I just remember this like adrenaline rush the entire day. But it was not sustainable because you can speak to this. I would come home at the end of each day looking like an absolute ghost. And doing that over and over and over again, it did start to take its toll.
Yeah, I mean, you're already fair skinned to begin with. You look like a t-shirt. I didn't know, what was going on. I obviously would tell me, but I had no concept of what that really took. And just the simple fact of hoarding the ingredients from one place to another is so challenging. And then to be able to wrap that up every single time, I kind of got the little scope of that when I made a few deliveries and things like that. And I immediately thought, well, I hate this. But you asked, and you said, look, I think it's a little bit. I've done about as much as I could. I need a little bit of help. And I thought in my head, look, well, just one day is not going to hurt.
6 years later.
And
We never really had that discussion, did we? It kind of just like you just stayed.
yeah, well, I saw firsthand what was going on. And it was a lot. I was shocked by what you were doing.
It was a lot. I mean, I was, again, hauling everything in, baking it, cooling it, packing it, shipping it, dropping off to USPS, and then shipping it again.
So the business is growing now, and we're thinking, okay, how do we actually scale this thing? And in the beginning, I don't know, I didn't realize, doing it online would actually be the thing that catapults the business, even though it was, because we in fact started a few weeks before COVID. But I also knew I didn't want to have a storefront because, well, that would just take so much capital, and I don't want people using my bathroom. So that's like a no-go. There was a critical moment where I remember in our apartment, there was a guy who owned a few juice shops. And he, I think, asked me at one point, he was like, what do you want to do? What do you want? And I'm like, well, I think there's something here. This thing is growing. People love the product. We're getting so much, requests for this nationally, which I'm dumbfounded how that's even happening. And he goes, well, how much are you making a month? And I said, well, it's like at $15,000. And I remember I was so proud to say that number. And he was like, that's not a fucking business. He's like,
that's a hobby.
He's like, that's a hobby. Go back to acting. That stuck with me. And I remembered, okay, well, to make this really go gangbusters, we need to figure out how to do that. And we thought, okay, let's get into retail. So then we thought, okay, well, where do we get into retail? With places that make the most sense. Because we always knew we were going to have a premium product, so it has to have a premium space for it. We just kind of thought, well, let's put it in the places that we love to shop. And at the time, I was going to Earth Bar twice a day, West Hollywood, the famous one that all the celebs go to. I would get smoothies there in the morning, bars throughout the day, come back and get some kind of chicken thing or lunch or sandwich, probably another smoothie, some shots, whatever it was.
And in true Maurizio form, he knew the owner and all the staff there, really.
And I said, could there be a place for this? So they allowed us to come in. And I don't know exactly the timeline, but then corporate reached out to us and said there might be more opportunity here. Do you want to make our beaming cookies? And I thought that was interesting. But when we met with them, they were more interested with us white labeling their cookies.
Yeah.
And to date, we still don't do that. And I knew then that I didn't want to do that because I was like, we're building a brand here. And this is going to be an exceptional company and it's going to be an exceptional name and people are going to recognize this.
Let's just talk, though, about the process of getting into wholesale because we didn't know what we were doing.
No.
We had not one clue on the labeling requirements, where to start with wholesale, how to structure the costs and the retail price. We heavily underpriced our product at the beginning, which is probably why it was so popular at the beginning. I think we were selling for $4 when we first started.
Yeah.
Because we had no overhead, no staff, and we didn't really know. We didn't have distribution either. We didn't really know like how to properly cost structure.
No.
Yeah.
No. And, to your credit, this is some of this really kind of laborious and technical and, operational stuff just gets dumped on you because I just refuse to do it. It's not where my magic is. I can't be bothered with this stuff. And we should talk about this because I think entrepreneurs, for the most part, have to do everything themselves because they don't have the capacity or the capital to hire these things out. And I think to a large degree, you do have to do this for yourself. I always say the best directors are the ones that have done every job on set because they are so informed and they know where our pain points, where things are going great, and they can appreciate how the whole thing is running, right? An entrepreneur has to have the same thing. So don't delegate the hard stuff. You have to figure out how to do it. Know that you suck at it. And then when you get to the point where you can delegate it, then do it at that point, even though we still do 90% of the stuff ourselves.
Yeah, well, I think that's why we work so well together, because you're the people person. You're the one that shakes the hands, makes the deals, and I do all the number stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really hard stuff. Yeah, and I think now it's even easier, even though we're only 6 years in, but with AI, with all LLMs, you can literally type in anything and it'll spit you out a correct answer ish. You still have to kind of backtrack but I mean, if imagine if once we were starting out, we were like, how do we, how should we price our cookies? It would say, well, dude, here's what you have to think about. You have to price in this, price in this, price in that, and it would help you probably go from back to front, which is a smart way of doing it. But nevertheless, we have to figure this out ourselves.
Yeah, and then pretty much the hard way, because we started out with those labels on the wholesale packaging. When we first started the D2C business, we were putting all of our cookies in these white paper bags, which did not help the shelf life. Allowed for ants and all kinds of rodents to get in, which we found out the hard way. A lot of customers sending us lovely photos of their package arriving. And so when we went into wholesale, we had to think about the packaging side of things. We couldn't just put them in the same paper bags. And so at the beginning, I used my lovely Adobe suite and made some labels. And we got them printed at the local printer shop. And we were sitting in our studio apartment, stickering everything by hand.
That was painful. And we wanted to get it precise. We wanted to get it exact. We ended up making some stencils on paper that we would put on top of these things. I mean, we were asking our staff and we were doing it ourselves as well. We were doing it off hours because it took so long to sticker these things and to have the bags already made to be able to process.
Isn't it
packing
ironic,
everything.
though, that you were using the How I Built This Book, and
Right.
right where the author's name was, that's where you knew you had to put the bottom of the sticker.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's
that was your template.
that's right. Yeah. We've come so long where I sometimes even forget 90% of the things because we've done so much since, and yet we still feel like we have so much more to go.
Yeah, we're
It's
definitely
still
not at the end of our road.
it still very much feels like a startup.
It is. I mean, we're doing this podcast from our living room with our one staff member.
People always ask us, "Wow, how do you get into the store?" I go in. I go in and I talk to them. Will you carry us? I mean, to think that we could give it to a distributor wasn't even a thought.
The thought of a distributor, to me, I was like, that seems like so foreign and so far away. How do people even ship across the country with a distributor?
Yeah,
I didn't understand it.
no. Now we're understanding a little bit more about the business, a little bit more about food. And then when did you know that you wanted to expand not only in our core product line, but through, I would say, one of our magic components of our company, which is collaborations?
Again, there was no master plan, and everything I feel like for a lot of the time with this business was instinct. And so we had this core offering, which I feel like at the time, each product was quite unique in its own right. Like we had that cookie dough bar, the Nutter Butter sandwich cookie, a tahini brownie, the chocolate chip cookie, the tag along. All of them are like, they service a different kind of dessert, right? I don't even remember how this came to be or what conversation I had, but we spoke with an influencer who was a friend as well. And we were like, let's do a product together. She was big on the gluten-free scene, and we'd never obviously done anything like this before. And this was like, I feel like at the very start or even before this kind of like collaboration with influencers, product lines happened. It was very much celebrity focused at that time. And so I don't even think we had a contract. We just were like, handshake deal, let's do this. I'll give you a cut of the sales. What do we want to do? We decided to do an Oreo collab where we essentially make a healthier Oreo in the style of the Nutter Butter. We made 3 flavors. We sent the boxes out to her friends who were also influencers, and the response was insane.
Exploded.
Insane. I just remember looking at our website and it was just like sale, 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 sale. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how are we going to fulfill this?
It exploded. And soon after, because of what we named it, we got a cease and desist letter. And that's when I thought, shit, we've made it.
Yes.
Now we're on to something. Now we're on the radars of some big people. The day you get sued is like the day you say, okay, I've got some eyes on me now, which obviously is terrible, but it's also great because you know you're making a dent.
Yeah. I thought, why couldn't we name it the Oreo collab? Because bloggers call it Oreos on their website. Like, why couldn't we do it? But I guess it garnered that much attention that they felt it was necessary to send us a lawyer letter.
Yeah. And that was the beginning of the collab. And I would say that's part of our magic is that we take a staple item and we make a better for you version of that.
Yeah, after that collab, I was like, we're onto something here. Like, this needs to be a part of our format for the business. And so we did another one. And I believe that was the Rachel Good Eats one, which ended up being just as much of a hit, if not more. And to the point where we ended up keeping it on the menu.
Which still to this day has never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was, so her favorite treat was a Snicker bar. And so what did you do? So how did you even think about making that into a cookie?
You know, a lot of the ideas that I have for these products just come out of trial and error, tinkering, looking at the product, trying it one way, and then I'll just kind of have this like, I hate to say, but like aha moment where you're like, oh, let's try it like this. This is amazing. But I will say, it wasn't always like that. The candy bar cookie was a nightmare to make at the beginning. Everything we're doing or that we have done with Nowhere, we try to innovate, right? And so I didn't want to buy a caramel because a lot of the caramels on the market have a lot of shit in them. So let's make our own caramel. Never done that before. Let's figure it out, right? How do we make it? What do we put in it? What's the format in which you put it into a mold? Do you freeze it? Do you refrigerate it? How do you then bake it? What we realized after months of having to stand over every cookie and restructure it because the caramel had baked off the cookie and onto the sheet pan, my poor bakers were standing there trying to like deal with piping hot caramel to like make it sit back in the cookie where it belongs so we don't lose the cookie, right? And so after months of this, I realized, oh, we need to boil the caramel 3 degrees higher so that when it bakes, it doesn't spill everywhere. Just these small little tinkers are what made the difference with that. But that aside, honestly, it just comes from instinct.
Yeah.
A lot of the recipes kind of spawn from a prior product, and then I'll change a certain ingredient. We think about what we want to make and kind of backtrack from there. And I'm like, okay, well, we have a great chocolate chip cookie recipe. What can I change about that to make it what we need now? Or we have a great brownie recipe. What can I add to this to make it even better?
So now think about this. You know, we have this online business, we have this wholesale business. That's really our 2 pathways. What we don't have is a luxury of having a storefront where we can just make anything we want and put it out and test it and see how it performs, see how people react to it. What we need to do is be able to have something that also ships well. And the hard part of it is because we are who we are, because we do real food, because we don't have any gums, we don't have any fillers, because we don't put anything in there that, you know, binds and congeals and or is shelf stable, we have to figure out how to ship this stuff where it gets to the destination the same way it left. So that triggered its own really, really difficult time and period. And I still think we're revamping it all the time. You know, we do have a premium product. We do have a premium everything, premium packaging, premium, hopefully customer service, ingredients, everything. To me, we still don't have this premium shipper. And most of it is because it costs so much money. And people don't understand with Amazon teaching us we don't have to pay for shipping anymore and we should expect it in the next 4 to 6 minutes, that it's really challenging actually to, one, keep the costs down, two, have this amazing experience, and three, give you something that you can hopefully want to post about or, you know, be really excited about. So we've always done to a point where it doesn't make the price even crazier, but we don't have this like unbelievable, I think, unboxing that I've always aspired to have for us. So there's still so much to do on this end.
Yeah, and I think to that point, you know, the companies that do have that, I don't think a lot of people realize they have money. They've raised money, they have VC funding, they've done big raises. So they have the capital to burn through a lot of money to create these customer experiences that perhaps are not making them any money, but it's building their D2C, you know, brand in a whole. For us, we haven't done that. We started the business with $400. And to this day, despite what a lot of people may think in regards to a certain show we were on, we still own 100% of this business. And every dollar, you know, comes out of our own bank account. And so we're very mindful about our P&L and, you know, staying afloat with cash flow. The cost to ship nationwide fast with ice and all the other stuff that goes with it is so expensive. And I think it's probably the biggest pain point for us with the business, not just for D2C, but also for wholesale, because we're not with, you know, we're with some distribution, but a lot of the stuff we do is still direct to the retailer, and sending large boxes across the country is so expensive, and it's only getting more expensive.
We're figuring this out. We're a couple years in. We're in some wholesale. We're in, you know, the places that we love. There are some aspirational places that we want to be in that we're still not. We're working on that. You know, the online business is growing. Our collaborations are working. How do you feel at this point? Do you feel like you've succeeded? Do you feel like it's still fun? Do you feel like it's challenging? You know, where is it where is this in your ethos of
right now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can tell you for a fact that this year, even though can't believe I'm saying this, but we're halfway through it, probably what being one of the most challenging for me and the business. The amount of times that I've thought about throwing in the towel with just the ups and downs and the slaps across the face both ways. It's been hard. And I think it's been harder because we're trying to grow. We're trying to grow outside of what we've done. And to get to that next step is a lot harder than I think what we realized it would be. How do you feel?
I find myself in funny situations where either people may recognize us or they ask us. They're like, hey, what do you do? Oh, my wife and I work together. The first question is, how is that possible? Second question is, well, what is it? And we tell them. And they're like, that's my dream job. That's exactly what I want to do. You're living my dream. Blah, blah, blah. You bake? That's what you guys do? That sounds so fun. And I get reminded, why aren't I having fun? Should this be my dream as well? Because we're so inundated with all these things, because every day some customer's upset. Every day we've destroyed a bunch of cookies that we're paying so much money to make, produce, employees, high price of chocolate, labor, everything all combined, and chargebacks. And all you are consumed by is a negativity, and you forget people actually love this product. This makes people happy. Your only job is not destroying that happiness and fulfilling that satisfaction. And those are the challenges I think that we face day to day, that, you forget why you started this in some ways. Because at the end of the day, we kind of just did this for us. This was something that we wanted. And then we realized a lot of people wanted it this way. And it brings a lot of people joy. And people who have dietary restrictions, like real dietary restrictions, they appreciate it even more so, because they're like, oh my God, never thought something that had to be this way, made this way, would taste this way. Always reminded of that, and always try to think about that. But, there is this feeling that we're not doing enough. There's this feeling that we're not growing fast enough. There's this feeling that other people now are starting to kind of step on our turf. And do we hold ground? Do we say, well, there's a cookie for everyone? What's the play here? In some sense, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Let people see, what they like more. Of course, it's subjective, but I just know ultimately we make the best product out there. So to me, it just reassures that we are the best, because if there is no competition, people just take it for what it is. But then when you get 10, 20, 30 people doing the same thing, they're like, wait a minute, but this is really the right one.
When I feel like there are a lot of other companies kind of popping up since we started. And my first thought is, quite an honest, like, good luck to you, because I know how hard it is. And there are many times that you can fail along the road. And so if they prevail, then, they've earned that spot next to us on the shelf. So I think that's almost like a good thing.
I think we should wrap it up there. There's a lot more to talk about. There's a lot more to say and a lot more stories to tell. So catch us on the next episode of
Going Nowhere.